Hello, good morning.
Morning.
We've got property number 3 to show you today.
3.
It's called Lobateira. It's 17,500 euros and it's completely unlike the first 2 properties that we visited.
It is. It's very wild.
It's quite impractical.
And it's a bit of a long video.
Yeah, we've taken you for a really good tour around. There's lots of, this is part of the land, that's part of the land.
Yep. Yeah, I could have cut the video short, but I felt it needed to show you all the land because it's so varied, very rocky. It's enormous. Hilly, nearly 1.2 hectares.
Yeah, it's a lot bigger than the last 2. And yeah, it's an interesting one.
Yeah, so have a look round with us and let us know what you think. And thanks for watching as usual.
We've got lots more to show you after this one as well, haven't we?
We have indeed.
Still going.
Still going. So enjoy, and we'll see you on this episode looking round Lobateira.
We are Those Weirdos, a family of 7.
We've been living, working and travelling for 2 years in our self-converted Sprinter van.
I have a chameleon.
Driving to Portugal to find a bit of off-grid land to buy, then we're going to apply for residency and avoid the Schengen restrictions caused by Brexit.
We'll be filming every bit of the process so you can come along with us and be part of our journey.
The sub done good. Done it.
Oh yeah.
Lordy.
So we didn't film any of that, but we were trying to get back to land that we looked at, and Google took us a different way and we ended up getting stuck on a single track lane in the mountains. So we had to reverse for about 3 kilometres and then try and turn round on somebody's poor vineyard.
We didn't run over any vines.
No, we did not. But we found it, and we're on a fabulous piece of land that we looked at earlier with a really excellent, lovely estate agent guy called Louis.
Great. We didn't film any of it before because it felt a bit rude filming while he was showing us around. Plus, Louis walked really fast. He was going through all the scrub and brambles and thorns, and Rosie and me, I've got to show you this. This is my shoe. Rosie and I were in bare legs and flip-flops. We're charging down. So we'll film the land for you tomorrow so you can have a look at what that was like. And that was on top of getting stuck earlier, wasn't it? So this poor van...
And poor driver.
And poor driver has been through the... Yep. And do you know who else is poor? These guys.
Yeah, so it's...
Look how good they're being.
9:15 and nobody's had any dinner.
Or lunch or breakfast for the animals.
Yeah, so it's the...
Hey, Poppet.
Hello. I'm still a bit shaken up by the fact we were nearly hit by an ambulance a few minutes ago.
Yeah. Oh, what a day. But it's trial by fire, and just up over there, oh my god, it looks really light. It's actually really gloomy, and over there, in a minute, the moon's going to rise and going to be amazing. And it's full moon, so it's lots of good omens. Right, I'm turning this off. I've got to go make dinner.
Hello.
Hi.
So we've had a hectic day today, haven't we?
God, it's been crazy. It's been really crazy. It started out really peacefully. We were at that lovely air, it was all chilled, and you edited and finished your video. We left at midday and I was in a really good mood. And then we drove to a property and we looked at it and we went, okay, that's pretty cool in some ways. Then we drove to another property, which was different, half an hour away or something. And thought that was very nice. Rosie was very excited. And that's when it went a bit peaked on because the van got stuck. And I think we've knackered out the clutch.
So yeah, the property had 1 parking space and I went in van first, and it was on a slight slope, and
Yeah,
it was
like that, pointing
half
down.
tarmac and half sort of sandy gravel. And then when I tried to reverse out from a standstill pointing downwards, I couldn't get out.
Yeah.
So that was the first stress. It was really difficult. We didn't film it because it happened on the fly, and
I couldn't get the camera and film you while I was trying to point out, stop
so
traffic in either direction and help you out and stuff, so no.
And then the third property we came to is Heavenly, which we'll show you round.
Yeah, for that we had to drive half an hour to meet Louis, who was the agent, and he was lovely. And then he drove us about 10 minutes through completely off on these little dirt tracks. Bumpy and all the stuff hitting the van and low trees and bushes, and we kept thinking, oh my goodness, I hope he knows that, you know, we're in a 7-metre long van and we've got to turn around at some point. And it's, yeah, it's pretty epic. And then after this one, he took us to a different one. So that was another, like 20 minutes up the road or something. We looked at that and that was cool too. And then we asked if we could stay here for the night, so then we had to find it by ourselves. And I dropped a pin cleverly, but not at the property. I dropped it half a mile up the road.
And we took a different route because there's loads of these tracks through the mountain or the hill, and we went what Google said was the quickest way, and we got about 3 kilometres in on this single little dirt lane.
Yeah, we were about 3 minutes away from here.
Tiny little lane, only just wide enough for the van, and then there was a big dip and a big hill. And the hill was quite steep, but it had big boulders coming out of the track.
So, you might not
so you'd be fine probably in a car, just about, but in the van, if we'd have slowed down, we'd have got stuck, and it's in the middle of nowhere.
Yeah, you can't
so we then had to reverse for a kilometre.
Oh, that was scary as well.
And we couldn't turn round.
No, there was just nowhere, not passing places, not even wide patches of the road. So
the clutch was smoking because it was uphill as well. And then we managed to turn round and we went a different way, which was the way that Louis took us, and we found the land, and we wanted to try it out overnight.
Yeah,
and then
I mean, so far it's just really peaceful. You can't hear anything out there apart from this beautiful, if I shut up in a minute you'll be able to hear it, the beautiful chirpy, chirpy, chirpy of the crickets.
The cricket chorus. So it's 10 o'clock, and we're going to go to bed, aren't we?
Oh my god, I'm so tired.
Morning. So it's 9:30 on Saturday, and we stayed overnight on this piece of land which we've fallen in love with. Typically us. First day of looking at properties, we looked at 4 properties yesterday, and we're already thinking of this property as being ours. So this morning, a bit of a rare occasion for the last week or so, I've got trousers and docks on, which is because we're going to go for a proper explore of the land. We'll take you with us so you can have a look round, but it's very, very overgrown. I don't think anybody's lived here for at least 50 years, and it's a stunning, absolutely stunning piece of land. And we got ripped to shreds by brambles and bracken yesterday, cuts all over our legs from wearing shorts and Crocs, which are not very sensible items of clothing to wear when looking at rural land. So we got our trousers on. I'm going to go through the overgrowth and have a really good look. But it is the most amazing landscape, just stunning. But you'll see what I mean when we take you down. All different levels, lots of overgrown terraces that used to be farmed with absolutely wonderful arable soil. There's cork trees, oak trees, fig trees, lots of olive trees, trees everywhere, quite a few pine trees, but not massive ones, but it is just beautiful.
I like this, it's nice land, I think I could live here. It's got lots of bugs, I like bugs, they're everywhere.
So the track that you can see behind me is the access track, and I'll have to check how far it is, but it's probably a couple of miles, good 3 miles or so from here to the main road. The track is like a maze, it runs all through this beautiful woodland, and there's a lot of people in over the other side, over to my right, who are off grid. which we've driven past, but there's no neighbours here at all. So behind me there's like a tiny sort of pineish forest, lots of scrub, completely overgrown. So we drive in from here, and then this track here would be part of the land, but on the right is not the land, and on the left here there's a small olive grove which doesn't belong to the land, and it belongs to a old couple, and apparently up to last year they were looking after the olive trees, but they've not been pruned this year. So the agent said that's a sign that's probably too much work for them now. They're getting on a bit, but it's not a very big olive grove, but it is kind of a parcel on the left of the track that comes with the land, so at a later date might be the opportunity to buy that grove. And then where you see the sub part, the track is part of the land. So for your bearings, there's the track here going into the distance, and then everything here comes with the land, and basically the boundary is along here, and then where it's kind of clear, that all comes with the land. So along the back here where these trees are, past that one, but behind it here, this little ridge here is all with the land. And then the land is all on layers, and you've got these fabulous boulders everywhere. So here, all of these boulders, and again past the boulders over here comes with the land. Let's see if I can climb up on the boulders. It's all a lot of branching debris on the floor, a lot of work to clear it. On the top of the boulder, so the boundary is just here, runs off down there. So swing you round, walk down the boulder, you can see the sub in the distance. So all of this comes with the land, and that's the view from the other side of the boulders. Isn't that fabulous? You can see it's needs a lot of clearing. Even the boulders have got brush and lots of different weeds and bushes, baby olive trees, and there's lots of twigs and bits of wood from where the land's been cleared, and it's just fallen over or been left on the ground. Be careful not to kill myself getting down the boulder. Ooh. So, and then we're back on the track, and you can see the olive grove which runs up the side of the track and goes back to the sub, and then the boulder that we just looked at on the right next to the track. So the track isn't in bad condition really, although it is overgrown with weeds. It's probably just about van friendly with a bit of a tweak. It's got lots of debris on the floor, just needs flattening out. And then you come to this flat clearing which is the highest point of the land, and it's still pretty flat all around this clearing. Right over to that tree there, although there's lots of bushes and stuff here. If you cleared out these pines, which you're legally allowed to do, but not at this time of year, then I think you could get 4 or 5 vans parked in this area, and this is possibly big enough for a turning circle. And then you go into the heart of the land, which is the best bit to come, which I'm going to wait for Missy and Rosie, and then we'll show you. So there's the sub in the distance, so already the track is a fair length. So there's Missy and Rosie walking down the track I just showed you. And then I'll start filming from the van parking area at the bottom. That's the area that I said would be a van parking area here, the flat area. And if you look over, I'm just on a little ridge, but the boundary from the big boulder I walked along, you can see these boundary stones, and then it runs along here. So everything you can see here is part of the land. And then Rosie and Missy are just coming out of the van turning area, and then it slopes down slowly. Does look like there was a track here at some point, but it would need some work being downward. And then down at the bottom here there's a valley and a stream, which is also part of the land. So everything you can see here from these pine trees at there, and then all the way over to here, so all of that is part of the land. So the camera will be bumpy because the terrain is also very bumpy. So the walking cams, I call it, on again. Walking down that hill. So yeah, definitely some sort of track here, but it wouldn't be passable for our van. But it could be cleared at a later date. And then where I am now, it would be unpassable for a van, because there's a big boulder on my left, and lots of tree stumps. But everything you can see over here, that's part of the land. And this is where it gets really interesting. So I'll give you a view round. So from that boulder there, all of those pines, all of those big trees, everything on this pan is part of the land, all the way through here to the pines right in the distance. That is part of the land. You can see again the boundary there, which is those upturned stones. And then as far as you can see down there, lovely big boulder outcrops. I'll climb up this one and give you a view. So these boulders, all of those flat boulders, all the way down to that wall there. And then you'll see here, I'm up quite high now, so I'm on this big boulder. There's my docks. A 2 metre drop. And then it goes quite low down. So I've jumped off the boulder. The boulder's over there in the distance. So all of this shrubby area with the massive fallen oak there, right up there. So if you carried on and up that way, you'd come to the olive grove near where our van is parked. So all of this is part of the land, and then over here drops off quite deeply. As you can see, it's very, very full of weedies, wildflowers that are not in flower. It's a very dry time of year, but there is debris, twigs and logs and stuff everywhere. And for those of you that are not in Portugal, you're not allowed to have fires during the summer, so sometime after September you're allowed fires once the first rains start. Could be October, November, depends on the rain.
This area, I can imagine us clearing, if you clear off all this, it's all boulders and rock underneath, and it's quite flat. So apart from the fact that the sun's on it all day long, it would make a nice spot for yoga circle. Come and sit out here and do meditation and stuff when there's lots of people.
Not that we're hippies, but yeah, it would be lovely. Even just having a chair on the top of that boulder, the view is incredible. So there's some kind of track there, looks like it's been traversed by boars.
Could just be where we walked yesterday.
Could be.
Trumped it down.
So I'm walking to my left of the big boulder. And there's lots of boulders, lots of debris. Massive job to clear. And then there's another big boulder here. A big cork oak. Lovely trees, they're protected. And you can harvest the cork every 10 years or so. That one's been done. Looks like it was done quite a while ago. So everything down there, right up to the wall that you can see in the distance, that is part of the land. Everything on the right, through there to the wall over there, that's part of the land. Everything that was behind me, where Missy and Rosie are. So it's 10 o'clock now, and with jeans on. There's a nice breeze, a little bit cool, but it is starting to warm up. And it does get very hot here in the day, but it was cool last night, almost cold, and the same this morning when we were sat out having a cup of coffee. It's very pleasant. So it is has more moist atmosphere at night, so there's a dew. It's not quite as dry and as exposed as some of the parts of Portugal. So that's a good thing. So we're going to go down to the main part of the land now, which is at the bottom, going into the little valley, and there's a stream at the end, so we'll show you that too.
Just the shell. It's amazing. It's so quiet. There's a lovely cool breeze that comes in.
Oh, that is nice, isn't it? The breeze when you crouch down.
And there's so much, there's shade, there's sun.
And it's so peaceful, isn't it?
Really
There's
is.
not a sound.
That's a massive appeal to me.
And we're walking down now to the best bit. So that was the boundary that I showed you earlier. You'll have to again excuse the poor camera work as I'm going through all these boulders and all this grass and shrub. Let's start coming to the first bottom part of the land. Rosie's right on the edge of the border there, where there's all the rocks. And it is a huge piece of land. Oh, big lizard over there. Going off into the shrubs. Don't know if I can get him on film. And then here, that looks like some kind of animal activity, maybe boars. So they're the boulders that we were just looking at with the big cork oak there. And now we're on one of the first lower levels. Again, very overgrown, a lot of debris where the land's not been cleared for a lot of time. You can see here where this has all been dug. That's wild boars looking for acorns from the oak tree to my right. So we'll have to learn to live with them. So you can see the vast amount of work to clear all this. It's just everywhere on the land. So it widens out here. So you've got the border again, which runs up to where Rosie was up there. And then all the way just before it starts going uphill, there is a hidden wall here. So that whole width is part of the land. And then some more epic boulders. And then you can see the ruin in front of me that comes with the land. But before I show you that, so I'm up on boulders again, at 1 metre high where I'm standing, but it goes down. A lot of boulders there, another sort of flat area here. More pines. A dead olive tree there. Lots of ferns and bracken. So this is the back of the ruin. And it is a particularly rickety ruin. So that's the side of the ruin. Very bouldery, and then it drops off quite considerably there. Probably about 4 meters off this level here. So that was the dead olive I pointed out a minute ago. There's another one there. That was a big bramble on my leg. There's a lot of brambles here. Some of the roof tiles that collapsed. A lot of rubble here. Well, not rubble, but a lot of tree debris. So the ruin is in 2 halves. The left half has completely collapsed on one side. And full of all the roof tiles that have fallen in. Bit of the old door, and then the right side has got no roof, but it's still got the door mantle and still got a bit of a door. It's really full of rubble. There's the old door. So all the roof tiles are on the floor. Little nook there. See where the roof would have run. So this is kind of relatively intact. So a lot of work to repair this, make it into a workshop, or maybe a covered sitting area. Louis, the estate agent, suggested you could make good the walls and then put a false roof on, so that it's not a house as such, but that it's got shelter from the sun and the rain. But that's a major job. Oh, nearly fell over there. So coming from the ruined house, Rosie over there, again you can see here, that's the boundary wall, so everything on this side comes with the land, and it's massive down here. So from the wall here all the way over, right over to that wall there, is part of the land. I think you can spot a theme here, but I wanted to give you an idea of the size. It is massive. And then so there's a flat area on the left there that used to be a terrace, all full of collapsed trees, dried up grass, massive amount of clearing, same at the house, but a lot of potential there. Obviously the left side of the house has collapsed and the boulders that made up the walls quite big. So I think gravity and time have taken their toll. So I'm going to follow this sort of path that we made yesterday and show you the lower part of the land down here. There's Rosie and Missy coming down on the little path that I just followed. You can see the house here, a generous statement, the ruin. All the way, all of that, so everything here is included, and it keeps going down now. There's this very big boulders on the floor, all multi-leveled, so we wouldn't get vans down here at any point. you come to the lower terrace. So this is a big drop here, 5 metres down. So you can see the wall that continued from up top, which goes along there. And then all of this is included, everything all the way over to here. And then where the bracken is here is quite wet land, and to the other side of it there, running all the way along the back, that's the boundary line, but it's also a little stream which is dried up at the moment. But in the winter it fills up about 5-6 foot deep as all the water runs off from these hills here down into the stream there. So it's definitely a bit of a rickety, wobbly camera tour, but it's the best way to show you guys round so that you can get a kind of bird's eye wandering cam view. You're going down, and bracken is very thick. And the estate agent said the bracken was cleared in the spring, so just 3 or 4 months later it's completely taken over. But he said they did get a small tractor down here, so there is a path here, which I think is a boar path because it's not a person path. So this is the bracken area, so that's the boundary there, and the stream is on the other side. But this is quite wet here, which is why all the bracken has come back up. And then in the depths of the bracken there is a well, which is great, but the downside to that is on my left, as I'm stood looking at the border here, going all the way up the side of the land are about 10 flat terraces. So the downside is the well is at the lowest point, so we'd have to get water from here all the way back up the top eventually. So we'd have to look at our water management, fight our way through the ferny undergrowth. There is a bit of a path that we made yesterday when we were here with Louis, so that we can show you the well.
So much easier with boots on.
Yep.
Instead of flip-flops.
No, flip-flops is not wise footwear.
Oh, how cool it is down here. Not only the shade, but all the greenery cooling the air down. It's lovely. And look.
A little basin. It's cool, isn't it?
Yeah. You need to be careful putting it in there.
Yeah, it's not very safe. So that is the well. It's got a lot of Spirogyra slimy algae in it. It's not been used for a long time, but once you start using it, it starts to clear itself out, or we might have to get people in to give it a dredge. And that's where we came from. And then behind the well, on the land boundary, is what would be a stream. I think it was running up to a few weeks ago. It's just a bit muddy now. So you've got this nice wall, and then over there is the stream running along that boundary up there.
This is fun.
Hey.
I'm enjoying myself.
And Rosie's fighting her way through the undergrowth.
I got a bramble. Well, at least I tried it. I didn't get it in my leg.
You come to look at the stream.
Yep. Ah.
Tree. Oh, that smells amazing. It's really soft. There's some stones in there, so you've got drainage, you've got so much of this humus, and it's beautiful.
It's bone dry, but it's not been watered for years, other than the rain in the rainy season.
That's fabulous. They call me Earth Sniffer. It's not too much work to cut the bracken down. The trouble you have then is it comes back.
It's perennial, isn't it?
It is, and it's keen to grow. But I think you could chop it down and then
pull out the roots. Just keep doing that.
And mulch the area that you want to grow in, and just work on little patches of ground at a time. We'd never hope to clear, or even want to clear, the whole of the land all at once. So you find a patch that's going to be suitable for your veggies, which I think would be down here. And then you clear it and you mulch it and you get it all ready, and then you fence it off from the boar. And then you just tend that bit every day.
Yeah.
And once you've got a handle on that, then you move on to a different area that you want for, I don't know, a log cabin or for seating or something. And just do patch by patch and leave the rest of it to be wild, because there's so much wildlife here. There's all insects everywhere, there's birds, there's obviously some kind of little things that run through the undergrowth, because you can see all these paths everywhere. Fab.
So Louis said there were rabbits, roe deer, boars obviously.
Yeah, I looked online this morning, there's all sorts of other things. There's
lizards.
Pine martens and badgers and...
Bats probably.
Yeah, loads of bats. Yeah, cool.
Yeah. So there's the well from slightly the other side. Got to be careful because it's very rickety on the edge. And then that is at the bottom of all these terraces. I think there's 8, 9 or 10 flat areas, which is on the right hand side of where we just walked. So we came down this bit here. Van is way up there in the distance, and then this part here, all of these terraces run up and butt up to the olive grove where the van is parked at the top. And the terraces are massive, very arable, beautiful soil, but they're all overgrown and been used for a long time. So as Missy said, we'd have to clear small areas first. So there's a lot of trees, but there's no citrus trees that we found. That's mainly because they need to be watered. So there were citrus trees here, but they've all died. So we'll have to plant our own citrus trees and wait 2 or 3 years to get any kind of fruit off them. So I think we'd have to clear this area first so that we could get to the well, to be able to get water, clean the well, and also then we'd have to rig up some kind of well contraption so that we can hang a pulley and get buckets down. But all of that spirogara, that'd be floating on the surface, so most of that will come out as you start pulling water out, and then the new water that comes into the well will be fresher. It's probably a little bit stagnant at the moment, but it depends if anything's fallen into it, whatever that might be, an animal or bits of wood and leaves and all that will all make it a bit unpleasant. But the more you use it, the better it will be. And then we'd have to get the water tested probably and see if we need to get the well properly cleaned, or whether the water's okay and it's just a bit dirty on the surface. But it's probably not been used for 30, 40, 50 years. And then this is where the terraces start. Again, like all the other land, it's very overgrown, but the terraces are all walled terrace and flat inside. So you can see this one here, it's a perfect square, give or take, piled up. And there's another little one here, smaller, and then we're starting to go back up the hill to the big boulders that we came down earlier. You can see those here. And there's wall for more terraces, and then the border is here. And then you can see all the terraces going past the distance. They're not so bad to clear because it's mainly this grass that's taken over. A few brambles right here and here. You can see the walls, beautiful walls, all covered in lichen. Look at that. Apart from me waffling, it's just so peaceful, just the sound of a few birds and crickets. So I'm now kind of, these boulders here, it's where we came down. Getting out of breath now, it's getting very hot. But you can see there the terraces at the bottom. With that area there, that's where the well is. And then you've got all these terraces going right the way up there, right to the beginning of the land. With that wall there being the boundary or the border. So a dead olive and a new olive in the middle of this terrace, but the olives have not been tended, so they've not been pruned, so a lot of them have got lots of die off. They need some love. But as you can see, whilst it's still requiring a lot of work, the terraces are a lot clearer. It's mainly just this long hay-like grass which has dried off in the sun. But I should imagine there's a lot of perennial plants that will come up in the wetter weather. But you've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 terraces here. Not sure if I can get through there. Very overgrown there. So try and go this way, so you can see again lots of grass. Lots of boar activity, so I can't get through this way very easily. There's a tree debris on a big terrace wall. So I'm going to have to go back round where I came from. So what you have to do is when the rainy season begins, after the first rain, as I said earlier, you can start burning all of this debris. So we literally have to clear small areas because there's just so much of it, and then have controlled fires when it's wetter, and just take it slowly because the land is huge. So that's where I couldn't get through. So that one there is very overgrown, but I think I can get down there maybe. So I think that is a vine in between the brambles, but no sign of any grapes, so I might be mistaken. Might be some kind of other thing, but it does look grape-like. So I'm moist now, built up a sweat. It's really quite hot when you're in the sun. So I'm going up a big boulder hill again. So that's the big cork oak that we looked at when we were coming down. So we're at the bottom of that rocky outcrop. Land goes all the way to the borderline there, which is the wall. So again, more terraces, a bit more overgrown up here. So we're on the far left of the land from looking down the land from the van. But you can see it's not a couple of days worth of work. Have to be a truly passion orientated, little by little clearance of the land. So even more terraces here. These ones very overgrown, full of brambles. Lots of grasses, dead trees, dead olive trees, lots of brush. So if I swing round, that's the tree that had collapsed. Which I think is died on that side, but still growing on that side. Getting seriously hot now, walking around and climbing. So a lot of people we've spoken to who've got land have said they get up at 5, half 5. A bit like the workman that filled up the bar in El Rocio the other day. Get up early, start work at 6, and there's still a cool breeze at the moment. It's probably about 11 o'clock, so you could get a good 5 or 6 hours of work in the full summer before it gets really, really hot. But even so, walking from one end of the land and halfway up the other end, it's a long way. And I'm really out of breath, need a drink, didn't bring any water. So I'm going to go back up the boulders and head back to the van, get myself a nice drink of water. And despite wearing trousers, I'm still covered in burrs and spiky bits. No idea where Missy or Rosie have gone. So it is a big piece of land. You could easily get lots of your own space here for reading, relaxing. I can just see the sub. So I'm back on the turning circle, as I've called it. Oh, big lizard running down there, about 5 inches. And there's the sub.
Good morning. I'm going to go through our top 10 for the third property that we visited. Water. It does have water. There's a stream that runs at the very bottom of the property. The property is located on a hill. The stream isn't currently running, but it runs for about 10 months of the year, we've been told, and if you look at the bottom of the stream bed, it is obviously damp, so there's no water running at the moment, but it's wet down there. We also have a well, also at the very, very bottom of the property, so although there is water, it will cause us a bit of a problem for what to do if we want to have water at the top of the hill. 2. Is it arable land? Not at the top. Down at the bottom there's really, really good soil. It's covered in bracken at the moment, but we can mow the bracken down and then root it up, and then that'll be really decent soil for planting. 5,000 metres squared minimum. It is, I think it's 11,000 metres squared. So that's very nice, lots and lots of space. When you're walking around on the property, it just feels absolutely enormous. We've walked around it about 4 or 5 times now, and each time we find different bits of it that we hadn't really looked at before. So that's great. Good access. There's a good access road for the van at the moment to the top of the land, and we think that with a bit of hard work we can create a path for the van to drive down to about halfway down the land, which would be ideal for us, so good access is a plus. 4G signal. We do have 4G, again at the top of the land. There's 1 to 2 bars of 4G at the very bottom of the valley, but full 4G. We uploaded a YouTube video from the top of the land, so that's fine and brilliant. Varied landscape. It has a very varied landscape. We have, excuse me, fly. It has a very varied landscape. There's massive granite boulders and all sorts of trees. Quite a few pines, but not dense. 1 eucalyptus tree that we could cut down because it's young in the middle of the property for fire. There's bushes, there's thickets, there's open spaces, there's, as I say, bracken down at the bottom where it's very damp and squishy, so definitely has a varied landscape. Fruit and olive trees. It has quite a few olive trees, it has quite a few grapevines, it has some walnut trees. It doesn't have fruit trees, but we can buy those and grow them after a bit of research to find out which trees are going to grow best on our land, so that's fine. A ruin. It does have a ruin. It would take a lot of work to get it to be useful. In fact, we're not even sure. It's divided into 2 parts, and one half of it looks really, really ruined, but the other half might be usable. Number 9 is no close neighbours, and that is a definite. There's no close neighbours for miles and miles and miles. there is some community. We've met 2 people already who invited us to various places. One of them runs a little market and the other one runs another kind of gathering. So that's cool. There's people like us in the vicinity, but nothing close. We have no neighbours overlooking the land at all. No houses, nothing. So that's a big plus. And our final one, not in the fire risk zone. Joe was saying yesterday we're not going to concentrate on too much because the whole of Portugal is fire risk zone, but instead we're talking about how we can put plans into place against fire risk. So as I say, there's no eucalyptus growing nearby. There are pine trees, but it's not dense pine forest, and there's good access in 2 different directions to our land. So it's ticked every single box on our list, basically.